Welcome to the True Demon Lord show. I am, of course, the True Demon Lord, and today we're going to be talking about Chaos Demon Lone Operatives. So, we obviously have three of them. Lone Operatives are very good, especially at the moment in Pariah. And all three of us have some kind of uses. I think all three of us are pretty decent, to be honest. But all have very different uses and fairly fitting to the fluff as well, which is quite nice. So Lone Operatives are, of course, it's in a core ability basically goes on a character, normally one that can't attach to any bodyguard units, and it means that they can only be targeted by range attacks from enemy units if the target or the attacking unit is within 12 inches. So it gives them a 12-inch lone operative bubble, keeps them quite safe from being able to just be blatted throughout the game, which is quite nice, and allows you to kind of be a little bit liberal with how you place them, how you move them. So obviously we have three. We have one for Slanesh, two for Zinch. There are definitely a few more what we could have had in some of the other gods, but that doesn't matter. We don't have them, so there's no point going into that. But we do have three, and we're going to focus completely on the three that we do have. So we're going to start with the mask. I love the mask. I think she's fantastic. So she moves 9 inches. She's got a standard like T3 wounds, 4 wounds, 4 up in one. She's can advance or fall back and still charge, which is quite nice. It allows her to keep up with the rest of the army because obviously a lot of Slanesh is quite fast, but also keep up with the units she wants to kind of be helping out. So in combat, she has fight first, which is again quite nice. It means if someone's charging her, she'll at least get to do something before she goes down. And she does chuck out 6 attacks hitting on twos at strength 4, -1/2 damage, dev wound. So not terrible, okay? Not terrible. Now, the real meat and potatoes for her is her Eternal Dance special rule. And that lets you pick an enemy unit within 6 inches of her at the start of the fight phase, so they don't have to be visible, which is quite nice. So you can use her to be like an inch off the wall, and then have other units like fiends or something in front of her. And then once they get charged, you can start using this. So you pick that one of those enemy units within 6 inches of her. Anytime that enemy unit makes an or models in that unit make an attack, they are -1 to wound, no matter what they hit, demon wise, of course. Actually, no, it's not. It's literally anything. So if you have some allied knights, it will affect that as well. But it affects any gods because it goes on that unit, the enemy unit, not onto your unit. So yeah, really, really nice. The other effect is anytime a Slaneshi unit targets that unit, obviously a Legionist Demonic Slanesh unit, they get +1 to wound. So now Fiend's strength 5 plus on a wound, Keeper strength 8 plus on a wound, even Shellax with strength 14 against things that are like T8 plus, being able to get +1 to wound, really, really nice. So she's very much a buffing piece. You want to kind of keep her around those important units. Being able to keep her out of line of sight is quite nice as well. Like I said, being able to hide her an inch off the wall, charge in with or have an enemy unit charge one of your important units. They have to land within 6 inches of her, and then you prop this. So sometimes it's a deterrent or just a fail safety plan just to make sure you keep some stuff safe. And then hopefully on the punchback, +1 the wound, then props in, and you can do some damage. So yeah, I really, really like the mark. I think she's fantastic. I've been running her a lot recently, with a lot of fiends, and we're gonna go into some examples in a minute of what she can do. But next we're gonna look at the blue scribe. So two little blue Hares on a disc, tasked to find all the different magics and sorceries via Zinch. So the blue scribe is cool. Obviously again a lone up, mounted, so can't go through walls, but does move 12 inches with fly, so pretty speedy. T4 6 wins for up in one. So again, not major tough, but at the same time annoying. Like some bolters, like unless there's a lot of shots, just like a unit of 5 guys with some bolters is not really going to potentially kill it, which is all right. So they don't really do damage as far as normal attacks go. They have only I think it's 4 strength 2, 1 damage combat attacks. They are anti-psycho 2 plus though. Because apparently, they're quilled feathers heat psychers, but the reason you're taking them is because they're a lone up, they're quite speedy, and they have a nice sized base, so using them to block out an objective with that 12-inch 9-inch deep strike denial was quite nice. Um, so they do have two special rules. So you got Tarex's Sorcerer's Siphon, which basically means anytime an enemy unit uses a psychic weapon within 12 inches of them, they're -1 to wound. That, I will double check, is both shooting and combat. So that's really nice into Grey Knights, Thousand Suns, even Demons. Like, it's niche, but it's something that if you have it and you run into those matchups, it actually then becomes quite strong. Again, similar to the mask, being able to hide them behind a wall and then have that 12-inch bubble around important units. So anytime they're going to be your opponent's going to be running into you, especially if they're trying to get you in combat, it's going to hurt a fair bit. Like they're going to be -1 to wound. That's going to like change the way they might play the game. So I would say it is incredibly niche, but in those matchups can be incredibly strong. Then we have Zarap's Sorcerous Barrage. So at the end of your movement phase, you roll a dice for each enemy unit within 12 inches. I got it in front of me just to make sure I get the wording exactly right. So a 1 does do nothing, but a 2 to 3 will be one mortal, sorry. 4 to 5 is D3 mortals, and then a 6 is D3 plus 3 mortals. I always get that wrong. Even though I played the Blue Scribes crap tons of times, I always have to be like, crap, is it D3 or is it 1? What's D3 plus 3? So again, it's not the most impactful rule in the world, but it's not bad. Like again, he is the cheapest. The mask is 85 points. He's 75 points. He is the cheapest of the 3 lone ups. He is super fast, or they are super fast, should I be saying. So just as a scoring piece and an annoying little piece is actually quite nice. So to be able to then just potentially move in, clear some like units that you've battered quite heavy that only have like a couple wounds left in the unit. Potentially just being able to pick them up with this is really nice. Even just doing some mortals on a tougher target, so it's just a few less points for you to chew through with something else. Again, not terrible, and like we said, the psychic -1 to psychic weapons within 12 niche, but in those matchups can be quite strong. So then we're going to move over to the last one, the Changeling, who is probably the strongest of all of them. He's just really annoying, very trolly, which is very apt because if you know the Changeling, if you read any of the Changeling's lore, he's just a gigantic troll. He doesn't care, like he's all about taking the piss out of everyone and just being a gigantic trickster. There's a reason he is literally called the Trickster of Zinch. So you're getting, again, it's a infantry 6-inch movement. This guy doesn't do lots in the way of moving, but you don't really need him to. It's all about putting him in spaces and then dropping him in if you need to. He's T3, 5 wounds, 4 up in one. He does have stealth as well, so that's quite nice. His combat is okay. It's like 3 attacks, 4 1d3 hits on 4s. I always have to double check because he doesn't get in combat often. But he's Overwatch, like he's flame. He's with flamer, right? Which is D6 plus 3 shots, strength 6 -1. D3 damage, D3 damage. Again, just double checking, make sure I get everything right. But yeah, like it's quite nice. That's obviously on the bigger profile. You're running a 2+. You're not killing him if he's taking no wounds. So I would say always roll on the big profile. If you really don't want to take the wounds, you can always re-roll the 1 for a CP. And yeah, like the D6 plus 3 shots, it's just really nice to have that. Being auto hits as well because it's torrent. So being able to have them on your backfield, sitting if you can, sitting directly on the center of the objective. So then you're blocking out any potential 3-inch deep strikes. Someone wants to drop a unit down, you then also get or have the ability to then just flamer them, which is really, really nice against certain armies. But that isn't really the good thing about him. The good thing about him is all the abilities he has. Both abilities are incredibly annoying, and again, it's very apt. So I recently played into a demon mirror that had the changeling, and he made my life a misery because both rules just took full into effect, and it was just absolutely, um, yeah, just not very nice, not very nice whatsoever, and it just gives me PTSD even thinking about it. So rules wise, here's the formless horror. That one is basically anytime an enemy unit targets the changeling, they must take a battle shock test. And if they fail it, they cannot target him. So that's really, really good because it's not just shooting, it's combat as well. And we're going to get into an example in a minute, but a unit dropping down, charging him, then failing the battle shock, not just so they zero OC, now they can't target him either, and you're not going to like beat them to death with his trickster stuff. But that unit is essentially in no man's land doing nothing, or maybe not even no man's land. Like by no man's land, I mean just nowhere. Like nowhere they want to be now because they can't do anything. They're not taking any objective. Like yeah, they're just in. Yeah, it's not good. They don't want it. It happened to me multiple times in one game, 3 times to be exact, and it was annoying as hell. Then you've got his other rule, which is like it's a bit more it's a bit janky, but it's more swingy, which is Mischief and Mayhem. So Mischief and Mayhem, at the start of your opponent's shooting phase, you pick an enemy unit within 12 inches and visible to the changeling, and you roll a dice. On a 1, thing happens. On a 2 to 5, that unit is -1 to hit, so of course he's already stealth. So if shooting him most of the time, it might not take an effect, but at the same time, it will, of course, like cancel out any +1 they may have, because obviously you can always have multiple negative modifiers. You can just never modify the dice roll by more than one, either way, positive or negative. But modifiers do stack and they cancel each other out. So having -1 to hit or -2 to hit and a +1 to hit, the first -1 to hit would cancel out the +1, then the second -1 would then take into effect and reduce the hit roll by 1. But then on a 6, now I've had this happen a couple of times. I've also had it happen against me again in the same game recently, which made it even more annoying. On a 6, that enemy unit cannot shoot. That is just insanely, insanely good. Insanely good. So that again is a 6. You got as much chance of that happening as you doing nothing, but it does happen. And I've had it like one of the first games I had attempt at an event. Someone dropped down with a big unit of Grey Knight Flamers. Want to shoot him? He was on my backfield objective. They're like, okay, we're gonna shoot him. I rolled my dice, rolled a 6, couldn't shoot. They were stuck there doing nothing. My opponent was not very happy. And then recently for me, my Skull Cannon wanted to shoot into the changeling because I drew Assassinate. He rolled a 6, couldn't shoot. So I charged him with Screamers and Skull Cannon. By far the battle shock test. Anything. So yeah, it's just he's really fluffy. I do think, as far as rules go, I feel like he's like the most fluffiest, like good balance between fluffiest and powerful, which is quite nice in our index. So yeah, like all three are pretty good. He is 90 points. They all have their uses, and we're just gonna show just a couple brief examples just to give you an idea of what exactly they can do. So we are going to start with the changeling. So as you can see, oh, we have a big horrible Nemesis Grandmaster in a Dread Knight. And he's dropped down. This is late game, say. We've got the changeling on the backfield. He's hiding behind this wall. Enough offensive he can't be easily charged from the other side of the wall. But this is, say, late turn 4. Our opponent's gone up and down. Grip this Dread Knight 9 inches away. So now our opponent, say, wants to shoot the changeling. Or maybe there's something else, but let's just say he wants to shoot him. We roll our dice. We might roll a 6. He can't shoot. We might roll a 1. He takes a battle shock test. Now, the reason he's very good at holding the backfield is because, obviously, in that case, he's going to be in your deployment zone, which is always in your shadow's course. So for something to most of the time be within 12 inches to shoot him because of the loan up, they're going to have to be at least partly in your shadows of chaos. Meaning, when they take their battle shock test to target him, they're at -1. So that's really handy. So let's just say he's failed his battle shock test. He can't shoot the changeling. Yes. But he's going to make his charge, and he does make that 9-inch charge. So he's going to get him. And it's not looking good, right? Big old Dread Knight. He's in combat with the changeling. Like, this is not very good. The changeling doesn't even want to look at him because he's that scared. No, he's not. He's Zinch's own trickster. He doesn't care. So our opponent takes their battle shock test. Oh no, they failed again. So their whole point of trying to take our backfield had just completely failed, because not just did they not kill the changeling, they are now OC0. And they can't target him, so therefore they are stuck there. You can give them a few whacks of your sticks, or a few whacks of your stick, and then your turn, you run away. So just a quite a cool little trick. Obviously, you're relying on dice rolls, but believe it or not, it happens more often than you may think. Like whenever I run him, he tends to do this exact job, hold my backfield. He's a lone op, so indirect, or even just if my opponent's able to get angles, generally they're not going to be able to do it because 12 inches. And if they are, then I'm in a bit of trouble. And if they do manage to do it, being again within 12 inches, you have the potential to stop them shooting him with the obviously not formless horror, mischief and mayhem, and then obviously formless horror also pops up for the battle shock test. Now, if your opponent wants to charge you in, this is very good again against arms of elder and sisters, which can almost guarantee a 9-inch charge. Again, this is just a potential way to not just stop them taking the objective, stop them killing the changeling as well. So if they get assassinate, and obviously capture enemy outpost isn't a thing anymore, but I did have a game where my opponent did have capture enemy outpost and assassinate. And it was against sisters. They had a unit Seraphim. They dropped down. They shot the changeling. They did just take a few wounds off them. Like I did make them -1 to hit, so they were -1 to hit, and ignoring any pluses. I think they took them down to 2 wounds. They charged him, then failed their battle shock test. So they were stuck there. The changing did bonk a few. I did flame at him. It was a big block of 10, I believe. I did flame at him and kill a good chunk of them, like four of them, I think it was. Um, yeah, and then the unit was just stuck there. No assassinate, no capture enemy outpost. So yeah, really tricky, really nice. Again, it is dice roll dependent, but to be honest, a lot of demon stuff is, and that's how we like to play it. So that's the changeling, and there's the mask and some fiends, but we'll get back to that because that's my favorite bit. That's the most juiciest. So we're going to the blue scribes next. Now the blue scribes is going to be a little, I guess, more boring. So we've already explained the mortal wound thing. I don't really need to show you how that works. Obviously with the mortal wound thing, um, like you can kind of put them into anywhere you need them to be, and then just put some mortal wounds on all the enemy units within 12 inches of them. The other thing, obviously, is the -1 to wound. Again, in certain cases, so say for example, we're not going to have any other units here, but say we've got an important unit here, like I don't know, Bellicor, um, and your opponent is going to be getting close. You can always take the blue scribes, keep them in about an inch off the wall so they can't be charged through it. Bellicor is just here to the right of the blue scribes on the other side of the wall. Your opponent charges in, let's say Grey Knights. Nice unit of Terminators. They're now obviously within 12 inches, so they're going to be -1 to wound against Bellicor. So that's a nice little like kind of trick there. But the reason we're just going to just quickly show you some things. It's not a lot. So in your deployment, again, you can be quite candid. Obviously, we've got a nice bit of terrain here next to him, so we can use that to block him out, just should we have any faster opponents. But if turn 1 we draw, say, Sabotage, he's really good to just be able to, oh, okay, there he is, to then just do that. He doesn't even have to do that, but he could do that, he could do that. Because Sabotage is, your unit has to be wholly on a piece of terrain and wholly outside of your deployment zone to be able to start doing Sabotage. The terrain piece does not have to be wholly outside of your deployment zone. So this bit here, this terrain piece here, which is half in, half out, pretty much, as long as the blue scribe's wholly on and wholly out, he can do it. Or they can do it. So they're going to be doing it like that. Again, if you get, say, containment, which is doing action within a board edge outside of your deployment zone, he just does this, or they just do this. They don't even have to be even that candid with it. They can kind of, or yeah, I mean, they can go like that, or if you don't really want to touch the terrain, which you probably don't want to, you can be a bit like that. But again, being a lone op means it's going to be harder for your opponent to stop them from killing them or doing the action. Same with recover assets. Say you've got a unit in your deployment zone, they're going to do it. The blue scribe literally just comes out. Your opponent might try and get angles on any other unit doing it, because it's the blue scribes, they're alone up, they have to get within 12 inches. It might either be impossible or just too much work for them to do it and sacrificing too much of an important unit just to stop it. So I like using the blue scribes to do those kind of actions where you need yourself to survive. They can also do things like terraform. Obviously, this wall is in the way, but say we had a bit more of an open part of the board, we can kind of move up here. Say we could hide behind a wall, drop on the objective, as you can see here, drop on the objective, and then we do terraform. And again, that's another thing I've done in terraform games when I've had the changeling is drop, not the changeling, the blue scribe, sorry, jump on the objective, terraform. My opponent now again has to either throw a unit all the way over there to try and stop it, which they may either not be able to because they've not anticipated it, or it's too important of a unit to stop it. So yeah, just a few little interesting tactics for the blue scribes. You can do this with any of the three. Just bear that in mind. Like, unlike what we just explained with the changeling, any of the three can do this. The blue scribes is a really good one because of his speed and all that kind of stuff. Just makes him or makes them like just a little bit better at doing it. And also because again, the changeling you kind of want to be protecting like an objective or something. The mask you kind of want to be around and protecting Slaneshi stuff and helping Slaneshi stuff. The blue scribes isn't going to be really doing those kind of roles. For 75 points, well, being the cheapest of the three, performs this role really well. And now I'm just going into the last one. So I'm just going to quickly show you roughly um, just some cool little tricks with the mask. So we've already explained it. We've got a unit of, say, what's that? Cast Space Move Chosen, which are here with the Lords, as you can see here in the middle. And we've got our fiends here. So our fiends are going to move. We are going to do this roughly, but they are going to move up. Um, and the idea is you want to be able to just take this objective as well as kill this pretty important unit of chosen, because this unit, if it gets to then have another turn to just be able to run at you, is gonna hurt, right? It's gonna hurt a lot. So you've moved up like that, just roughly. The mask has advanced, say she's got up to here. So now you want to charge the mask in first. The reason for that being you don't want to block her out, because when you charge the fiends in, every one of them that can make it into base contact must. You don't want to just potentially block yourself out. So the mask will go in, boom, mask is in, and then you charge your fiends in, and then you do your eternal dance, which then at the start of fight phase, which now means that this unit chosen are going to be -1 to wound, and then your fiends are going to be +1 to wound. The mask will also be +1 to wound. Just remember, it's every SNES unit that targets them. Another cool thing with the mask is she can kind of do things on her own. So you don't just have to do things like this. You can send her into, for example, I've done it where I've had a unit with a character in it. I've drawn Assassinate. I can't really spare anyone else to go and do it. So I've advanced her up, charged her into the unit, used the Eternal Dance on that unit, and then used 1 CP for Epic Challenge, which is a core stratagem that gives you precision, which means your attacks on your character, or precision on your character, so your character's attacks can now target other characters. And then I've used that. Now I'm strength 4, +1 the wound, 2 damage, dev wounds. She's not a bad little character sniper. The other little trick you can do is if this is not maybe the best um, terrain setup to show it on, but I will try and just roughly show you here. So say you've got your unit of fiends, they've charged into something, and now they're on over here. They've killed something that was here, and again, this is just very rough. Let's just say you got 4 left. And now you're in the potential to be charged by something else. Again, let's just do this very roughly. Here we go. So as you can see, the fiends have charged into something. They've killed it, nice and dead. But now you are in the potential of being charged by something else. So let's just say, for example, the unit could be coming from this direction. Obviously, here the board edge isn't big enough, but let's just say, for example, roughly. So we're going to have the mask. She's going to sit about an inch off the wall. So now when an enemy unit charges in here, they're going to be within 6 inches of the mask because they're going to have to get into base contact with these fiends. And for argument's sake, they are within 6 inches. So when they charge in, they have to get in base contact with the fiend, which now means they're within 6 of the mask. Now you can eternal dance on them because, again, it doesn't need line of sight. So just a couple of little tips and tricks and tactics to use on your lone ops. I think if I was to rate them, I think the Changeling definitely has the most use as far as just being an annoying lone up that can kind of debilitate some of your enemy units. The mask as well can also do that, but very good if you're taking a lot of Sineshi stuff. I think if you're taking a lot of fiends, which I think is definitely a good thing to do right now. If you're taking keepers as well, she's very good to buff them and keep them protected. She doesn't just do that either. She's very good. I mean, this isn't even something else we didn't even talk about, but I mean, she's very good with the Keeper of Secrets, as we've got here. So having the Keeper having the Keeper protecting the mask, your enemy unit charges in, they get into here. They couldn't make to the mask, but they do make it into the Keeper. And now you just throw it on the Keeper. Now she's going to be -1 to wound again, or this unit is going to be -1 to wound when they target her. And then also she's going to be +1 to wound. Now in this case, she's going to be winning on 2s anyway, but you get the idea. Something else the mask can do. Obviously, we haven't got the models here, but she can protect other units as well. One of my favorites is the Great Unclean One. Sitting her directly behind the Great Unclean One makes her invisible pretty much because he's a big boy. And then your enemy units charge in. I had it again recently against Angron. He charged in. She was right behind him. So again, obviously, not being Slanesh, the Grand Claimant wouldn't get +1 to wound against Angron, but as the other effect targets Angron and doesn't have a Slanesh caveat to it, anytime they would make an attack, it will be against against the Grand Clean one. It is just an attack they make, therefore they will be -1 to wound. So just some things to keep in mind there. And the mask is just a very good buffing piece, as well as just a good way to kind of blunt the opponent's attacks as well. She's obviously very good in the combat matchups. In the shooting matchups, again, she's can still give you the +1 to wound, just less so effective with the -1 to wound. So yeah, I think that'll do it. Obviously, like I said, all our lone ups are pretty good. They all do different roles, but as far as like, because again, there's a lot of secondaries and even some of the mission or primary rules where you kind of need to survive across a turn for those points to be given to you. The lone ups are very good at doing that, especially like the blue scribes, because you don't really want them hanging around the other bits. Where the mask you might have in a certain position, you might have the changing in a certain position. Whereas the blue scribes are very good at going off, doing sabotage, doing recover assets, doing terraform, etc., etc. So, thank you for tuning in. Please leave a like and subscribe. It helps out massively and allows us to continue to do this. And yeah, check out Facebook and Instagram, of course, as well, because that's where you can keep up to date with everything me and True Demon Lord. So, thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you all in the next one.